I don't believe it's possible for a born again Christian who has a genuine relationship with God that is outside the church. By this I mean that they study their word, they pray, they engage in charitable gifts, and they live a genuine Christian life behind closed doors and have a personal relationship with God. I don't think it's possible for such a Christian to sustain for a long period of time a relationship that involves fornication. I really don't. I don't think it's possible. I think the only Christians who can actually sustain a relationship, by sustain I mean for a very long period of time, a Christian who has these attributes, who has a solid relationship with God outside the church through prayer, through studying the word, they can engage in fornication. They can make a mistake. They can even date someone and they can engage in fornication for a year, maybe 2 years, and be in this relationship. But I don't think it can last long term because of the person that the Word of God is turning them into. I have a friend. I have two friends actually. One of them, he and his girlfriend agreed not to have sex for a year. Um, So they started dating and they didn't have sex for a year. Both of them are Christians. Both of them study the Word of God, especially him. He's a genuine Christian with a relationship with God outside the church, right? Then after a year, I believe he made a mistake and they had sex. He had sex with his girlfriend. And 2 months later, the relationship crumbled and now they don't even talk to each other anymore. You know, it can't happen. You can't sustain it. I have another friend he's much younger than I am. And last year I just had a word from the Lord for him and I went to him and I'm like, you and your girlfriend, he was 18 at the time. I told him that you and your girlfriend have the potential of having a very long lasting relationship that will definitely lead to marriage. But just abstain from fornicating because she's a Christian. She's focused on a relationship with God. You're a Christian. You're focused on your relationship with God. And you will. What we do as Christians is that when something is actually hindering our relationship with God, we end up cutting it out. Okay? So I told him that don't sleep with her because if you sleep with her, your relationship will crumble. Now, these guys have been dating for about 3 years at the time and they started having sex and lo and behold 3 years of investment in a relationship just came to nothing um, because of fornication. So I don't think it's possible. It's impossible to be in bed with God and be in bed with the lusts of your flesh, to be in bed with fornication. Sex, I believe, is destructive because I'm sure you've heard of soul ties. The problem with having sex outside of marriage is that you're having sex without the blessing of God. So all the insecurities, all the pains, all the other things that the other person has to carry come into your life. But unfortunately, you don't have the grace because it's not a blessed union by God. You don't have the grace to fight or to defeat those things. Okay, so I don't advise any Christians who want to have a lasting relationship with the person that they're with to engage in fornication. I know another guy. He was good friends with a girl. They met a few years ago, and then he eventually started dating her. And they were really good friends before they started dating. But when they started dating, immediately they started having sex. And lo and behold, the relationship crumbled. A 2 3 year friendship crumbled after a month or two of dating just because of sex. And so I am encouraging you and pleading with you that if you want it to last, especially if you're a Christian, especially if you're serious about your faith, if you want your relationship to last, do not have sex outside of marriage. Okay? Don't sleep with that person outside of marriage because it's so flippin' risky. I guarantee you that as long as you're a Christian who studies the word, aims for a better relationship with God, prays to God outside the confines of formal worship in church, and you have your own personal relationship with God, you will not be able to sustain. I repeat, you will not. It's a guarantee. You will not be able to have a long-term relationship with that involves fornication. I'm gonna use the word impossible to describe that. Thanks for watching.